We are live.
We are live.
This is our very first full recorded episode for Curious Inception,
Right.
which is, a business podcast, blog spot, whatever you want to call it. Vlog?
Vlog or whatever. But I remember we were talking about this before and we were kind of like, this is our social inception as well.
Yes.
We kind of call it social inception because this is about business, but also about social issues, and a lot of that intertwines.
Absolutely. And since we are drinkers and we own a liquor company, not this company,
No.
we always want to incorporate a fine spirit or elixir for telling the truth.
Correct.
And today we're drinking Brugal 1888 rum.
I love Brugal. It is delicious.
Amazing, amazing rum. So I'm going to get this out of the way. Just, I don't want it to be tacky, but what are we talking about today on our first episode?
I think we need to talk about something that a lot of people, ask about, wonder about, and we are very much part of: interracial relationships.
Interracial relationships, marriage, and how it flows into continued systemic racism.
Right, because we've had our own share of different
things
that we can talk about.
Past, future, present, whatever. But cheers to our first episode.
Cheers.
And so I don't know. Should we tell people how we met?
I think so. Those people who know us may know the story, but a lot of people may not know how we met. We met on Match.
Match.com.
And some people say you guys should reach out to them and become, a successful couple or something. I'm like, hey, well, we'll do a sponsorship or something.
Screw that. We need to be like brand ambassador / representatives.
Exactly.
And, once we're out of COVID, then it needs to be a situation where they fly us around the world.
Right. And talk about
Match. And then we'll start a Match company, I don't know. I'm always thinking business.
No Match company. No. I think we'd be great ambassadors or brand ambassadors for Match.com. So if they're listening, you guys know anybody?
Hey.
Right?
Right.
So,
totally.
Yeah, we met on Match. How many years ago now? It has been 6
2
years.
or 3.
It's been
math.
6.
I've never been good with math.
It's been just like a husband not remembering everything, right? 6 years ago, but we've been married 3.
Yes.
So, what were you looking for when you got on Match?
When I got a Match, and this is not scripted, this is raw, we're going to talk a little bit about personal, and I was going through a rough time. It was a very tough time in my life, and, I was lonely. I didn't want to be alone anymore, and I figured and I went back and forth before I paid. I didn't want to pay.
Right. And
we're going to get into that.
There's a difference.
But I didn't want to pay. But, when you go on those free sites, people are bullshitting.
Man.
They're full of shit most of the time. They're creeping. They want a side, piece and stuff like that. So I figured if somebody is paying to potentially meet somebody, they're pretty serious.
Yeah. I think we both thought that because we both paid, but we were at the different points.
Right. Right.
You
owe me money still.
I know. I had paid for like a 3-month trial or 3-month period or something like that for like $30, and I had 2 weeks left on my 3 months.
Your lucky day.
And what did you have?
I joined, 6 months?
Yes,
I think I did
like
6 months. And, I went bananas and I started, kind of trying to message. But, like, your pictures, I kept looking. I looked at multiple times. And, I was very insecure. Like I said, I was going through a very tough time. And I just, from your pictures, you kind of exuded that you had something. You had this assuredness, of yourself and who you were. And I didn't know. But I didn't know if I matched or stacked up. But
I told you, you never came across my, how they try to match you and these are your matches. You never came across.
Because I was white.
But see, okay, that's what we're going to get to talk about. I did not have just African-American men or just white men or anything. I just had man. But it was man within a certain age group.
You were desperate.
So
You
no,
wanted anything.
because no. Okay, so we're going to get on to why it really kind of worked out with us and me answering is just because at that point in my life, I was ready for something, serious. And yeah, because I paid for the three months, but I looked at it as God, universe, or whatever you want to call it. I did not want to block, as they say, block your blessings or block anything
Yeah.
that was for me. I wanted love. I wanted true love. I wanted a man to love me. It didn't matter whether they were black, white, brown, green, or whatever. It's not being desperate. It is being, I wanted love. And I believe that people are people. We're human beings.
True.
And if you're looking for love, look for love. And I get it. Some people have their preference, and I do not knock that either.
No.
I know several people, they do not want to date outside their race. And that's your choice and that's your preference. But don't down me either, because I've
Right.
gotten that on my preference to date white, black, whatever came my way, because I was looking for love. That's what I was looking for. Someone to treat me the way that I felt I should be treated.
My philosophy has always revolved around, how many people are in the world? 300 billion or whatever?
Yeah, something billion.
I don't know.
Right.
Like, it's crazy. And to meet somebody, whatever race, whatever gender, even religious, beliefs, when you come across somebody and you experience love, you get to actually fall in love, to that point where you fall in love. Like, that's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm.
That is absolute, and so it's like taking apart everything. Like, what does it matter? The race, gender, religion, all these different aspects. Like, to experience real love, it's just, it's a total blessing. And, so for others to criticize, I mean, we live in a culture right now that's full of rage, that is full of opinions, that is full of, a lot of criticism. So, there's always going to be that. And, we experienced that kind of early on.
Definitely early on in our dating. I do remember when we went to the DIA. I remember, he may not remember, but we went to the DIA on one of our first couple dates. And we were walking, and it was just so funny just to see some of the reactions of people. Like, I remember seeing people like doing double, triple takes. And it's just like what? Like they act like this is something that they didn't see. Like we were aliens or something.
Yeah.
It was just really weird. And
then I pointed out at the mall.
Now, he likes this story because it was funny.
Well, because, we were at a very, very upscale shopping mall in Michigan, in the Metro Detroit area. And, we were walking through and we were getting the double takes. You were getting looked up and down.
Right.
But it was black women.
I know. They were looking at me all up and down like...
Yeah.
Like, really?
I understand, the flyness here. I get it. But it was really interesting, and I joked around. I vividly remember it at that time, like, oh, you getting shade.
Right.
It
was crazy. It was crazy. And my thing is, with all of this, I don't judge anyone on what you prefer, what your preference is, what you want, and everything. But I don't want to be judged either, just because I dated outside of my race. I married outside of my race, because I just didn't believe in putting restrictions on love. That's how I look at it.
But that's
putting restrictions on it.
But that's the only way to experience true love.
I know.
But we're talking about love, and we really, kind of need to get back to, talking about racism and interracial relationships and, the stereotypes and just all these things. So, before our relationship, had you ever been in an interracial relationship?
Yes. So it wasn't a thing that was foreign to me. I do know that a lot of people, when they talk about interracial relationships or try to understand it, they're like, so is it, because it's different cultures, it's different, things that they don't feel that, a person outside of a black race is going to understand. And I understand that, but then you're not going to understand that person's culture or their environment either. So I think people getting together, you're supposed to learn about each other, right? Is that not
Love.
what it's supposed to be when you get together? You're supposed to learn about each other, and that includes culture. But you are a little bit different. So,
I'm different
so
because you know, like for many, many reasons, but like, you know, to get back and, you know, are they going to understand your culture and your
right.
history? I don't understand people to begin with right now with
Right.
the
I
shit that's
mean, I
going
don't
on.
care what color they are. I mean, I don't understand either. And it's just really crazy. But it's something that I saw not too long ago. And of course, on the social media that, we all look at. And it was a question of how can you really be black or know your blackness if you're married outside your race?
Ooh, tell
So
it.
for me, I'm like, so I'm
Speak to
not
them.
black because I'm married outside of my race. I can never say that I'm black enough or anything. And my thing is, I've had that before when I was in the industry that it was by your looks. And I was
Mm-hmm.
told I wasn't black enough then. They're like, well, you don't have big lips and you don't have a big nose. You don't look black enough. So now too, I married outside of my race, so I'm not black enough. I can't claim my blackness because my husband is not black. That makes no sense to me because I was born black and I'm going to stay black, and my husband knows I'm black, so I don't understand that.
I'm pretty aware of it, you know,
Yeah,
at this
I
point.
think so.
You know, so on the flip side of it too is, you know where I grew up,
Correct.
and, you know, suburban to the max, you know,
Yes.
white like paper, and, you know, it was a situation hip hop started.
Mhm.
So around ninth grade, eighth grade, you know, I started getting into hip hop and, you know, deep. So I think around 10th grade, you know, with some of the things that I would wear and my look, um, you know, I vividly remember a Latino kid asking me, "What do you think? You're black?" You know, and I was called
See,
wigger.
see.
Totally, you know, and it was always ironic because, you know, you always have that summer break,
Mhm.
and summer break people change, you know, it's like Madonna, and they come back with a whole different alter ego. And so the same people that used to, you know, question, you know, like, you know, all these different things. They came back listening to rap music and dressing the
See.
way, and I kind of moved on. I was into De La Soul, and I was wearing the button-down
Right.
shirts, you know, with the like the plaid pants and shit like that. And they were
See.
wearing the troop jackets and, you know, shit that I grew out of. But it was just so ironic, like the same thing that they were criticizing me, they succumbed to. And you know, I believe in being unique, being, you know, this incredible butterfly, and we're always evolving. But the one thing that has never changed is who I am. I've
Right.
always been this to the core. You know me. I listen to my classic rock and my heavy metal and death metal just as much as I listen to R&B and rap. I'm well
Right.
rounded.
And that's the thing, and I think that's one of the issues. And we're going to talk about a couple of different situations that you and I have had it, separately with racism.
And what
But
we can do about it
right.
as a society and a culture.
But I mean, I think people have even asked, like, do you guys listen to the same music? Actually, we do. And you listen to more hip hop and stuff than I do. I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
half the stuff that's on the radio today. He knows more about that stuff than I do. And so it's just like, we mesh just because you like several genres of music, and so
totally,
do I. Now I
totally.
don't know about that death metal that he's talking about.
And I don't know about
I
your
don't really,
Barry Manilow.
right. I don't listen to Barry Manilow. Whatever. But that stuff I don't know. I've listened to it. You've had me, try out some stuff, but it may or may not be my type. But some stuff, I have liked. So, I mean, I know you and I have separately had different racial issues happen to us. I know
Sure.
before, when I was a lot younger and I was in actually Mississippi, and me and my ex-husband, who was a black man, we were riding in a car and we had, the good old boy pickup truck with a Confederate flag, and they were saying the N word, and, my ex-husband at the time, was kind of angry, and he was trying to go after them. And I'm like, no, because we will end up in a swamp. We're in Mississippi. Like, I'm sorry, just
Yeah.
down there, that's just something that you don't. I
It's a
was
danger
very
zone.
afraid. I was afraid just because, of that fact. But I've gotten a lot of that over the years, I was in a medical program at Wayne State, and one of the times I first came in, and I was actually in a genetics lab. That was one of my jobs, and I was part of a program, but they didn't know it at first. And when I walked in, and they were like, "Do you belong here?" Yes. Like, it's all people in there. They weren't white. They were more Indian or Asian. But the black girl, they were like, "Do you even belong here?" Like, what does that mean? So,
Yeah.
I've had all of these subtle and some overt, experiences of racism throughout my whole life.
Yeah, I remember, so I was in a relationship and she lived in Toledo and T-Town and went to school there. And I remember, I mean, she very attractive, obviously. I got good taste. And,
Now you do.
and we're at a light, and it was, a black man on a motorcycle next to us just like staring in the ride. I had a Jeep Cherokee at the time, staring, and my Irishness, I looked at him and
Yes.
I'm like, is there a problem? Like, can I help you? And he said something, and I actually cut off the engine. And I said, what the
You
fuck
forgot the
did you?
light?
Yeah, I was
You
supposed to
forgot the
cut
light.
off
Cut
the
the engine
engine.
off.
We're from Detroit. We're a different breed. And so I cut off the engine. I go, what the fuck did you just say? And, he was like, fuck you, you white bitch. Like right off the rip, and then he took off. I didn't chase him, whatever like that. But like, that was really bizarre to me.
Yeah.
It was extremely bizarre. I was young. I wasn't. I was maybe 22, something like that, and I didn't understand it. Like I understood racism and bigotry and prejudice from one angle, but I never saw it from that angle. But then on the flip side, before I moved, bought this house, it was a different woman that I was dating. Seems like I get around,
Right.
but shut up. And we took a walk after dinner, walking down the street, and somebody said something.
What did they say? You
They
told me.
they called me an N lover,
See?
and I was obviously outraged. I chased after the car, trying to find rocks. I'm throwing, it was crazy.
I mean, it's not funny, but
No.
it's funny, but it's not, because that, I mean, really.
Yeah, because I was never gonna catch a car. Like I'm not
Yeah.
Superman, So, but I was so embarrassed
Yeah.
because I literally lived in a neighborhood a block over, and to see that type of racism, I was completely, utterly embarrassed, and she was shocked. Like, did this just really happen? And every once in a while we go, and I think this is very indicative of what's happened in this culture from,
Right.
what, like,
What we're going through now.
we thought things were getting better,
No.
and then all of a sudden, when we open our eyes, everything's completely changed.
Right, because let's talk about what's kind of going on now and
Sure.
how, with our relationship and when we go out and stuff. Like, I don't think I see it as much anymore. Maybe because I'm just not looking. I just don't
No.
care.
No.
But I'm sure we get looks or something. I don't know, but I
Well,
don't even care.
What's interesting is now, not that we're famous or superstars or anything
Right.
like that, but like we're on TV in the Metro Detroit area so often.
Correct. Well, you are.
Well, you are too. So we don't know if people could be looking at us like, oh, I recognize that bald guy. Like,
Right.
I
True.
don't know.
True.
And that's happened, but I don't pay attention to it, but something that recently happened, made me see that it's alive and well. And I kind of talked a little bit about it, but I did an ad on Instagram for our company. And it was your
Oh.
Forbes article,
Yeah.
first black woman to own a tequila brand. And I had multiple people like message us or comment, thanks for letting us know it's black owned, so I'd know which brand not to buy.
Right.
Oh, that's nothing special. People, start tequila brands. Who cares, if she's a black woman? Just all these negative, and I won't get into some other ones, but like racial things. And at first I was, my thought was, well, I'm going to delete, I'm going to stop this ad. But then I said no, because that's where they win. When we
Right.
continue to not say something when there's
Or
wrong
stop.
going on, whatever the wrong may be, it doesn't have to be just racism. But if you're a silent observer and you don't say anything, that's that's been part of the problem in society for a long time. Whether it's been women's rights, whether it's been
Hmm.
equal rights for people of color, just so many different things in a bucket that if we are silent observers, it will continue on. And I think it got to a point with the atrocities that just recently happened and continue to happen
Yes.
with with George Floyd just being the perfect breeding ground for enough.
Exactly.
We've had enough.
I mean, it is just, I mean, just going back to the example that you just gave, and we talked about it. You told me about it, and for me, it's just like, being a black woman, and e- experiencing racism, also sexism,
Sure.
and it's just like I'm one of those people that it's not anything I haven't heard before or experienced before, and usually you want to try to just sweep it under the rug, but like with you, I'm like, no, we're going to keep on doing it. And you know what?
No.
We're going to keep blasting it out there
Yeah.
because yeah, I'm a black woman and I own a tequila company, and you don't want to buy my tequila because I'm black. Cool, I don't want you to.
No.
Like, I mean, okay, a lot of other people will.
But like one of um a salesperson spoke to that pretty famous comedian recently. I'm not going to
Right,
name drop,
right.
but he like loves the fact, the narrative that you're the first black woman to and there's so many different angles and this and that and wants to support us.
Correct.
And there's I look at it as, and that's why I said no, I'm going to not stop this promo, because there's a lot more people
Right.
that believe in equality than there are that don't. It's just
Right.
the ones that don't believe in equality are fighting very hard to keep it the way that it is.
And we've just talked about this. We've talked about this a lot, and about the learned behavior of
Yeah.
racism and everything. And they just, and for me, it's amazing that they don't see that. This is something that is generational and it's learned behavior, because as we see, especially those two little boys that everybody saw
Oh,
the
that's
commercial where
great.
they
Yeah.
ran towards each other. They
Yeah.
have an Instagram page, and I follow them, and every time I see them I smile, because they are two little boys who are black and white. They know nothing about race. They just know this is my best friend in the world. Every time I see him, I'm hugging, they're sharing, and that's how little kids are. Racism is taught, and it is taught
Totally.
generationally from back to the beginning of this country.
Yeah.
That's how it was formed from the beginning of this country. I don't care what anybody says, because racism is in the Constitution. So it was built on that. And so all the generations after that have learned that behavior.
Yeah, and it's also, the other thing about it is, like, where I went to school was vastly different from where you went to school.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
one of my first jobs, I worked at like a super center shopping center. I don't think
Like
I think
Kmart?
yeah, I can say it because they're out of business,
Yeah, they're
right?
out of
Oh,
business. You
Super
can say
Kmart. And so, like, I was maybe one of two white guys that worked the midnight shift, and I look at people as people. Like, if I look at an apple, there's a good apple and there's a bad apple.
Now I'm gonna stop you though, because people say when you say you don't see color, that means that you're ignoring.
Well, I didn't
You
say I
not,
didn't say I.
but
Did I say I didn't
no,
see color?
but
I see
but
people
it's,
for people.
you see people for people, but then they also say you saying that, or you don't see color and you only see people as people, then you're ignoring the fact that we're different. And
So
I don't
let me
believe
expound
you
on
do
that. Let me expound on that. Like, I think it's very critical to understand that there is no way in society, in the world, that we can't look at somebody and say, oh, that's a white guy, that's a black woman, that is an Asian person, that's Middle East.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it's so, to me, it's the unsaid.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So when I say I see people for people, is I want to experience the full, you know, surrounding of who they are. You know, I
As it
want to
should be.
take the time to get to know them before jumping to a prejudice, which
Right.
it's a prejudge.
Right.
I don't want to prejudge. It's the same thing as, and we've done this with liquor, where it's been a
Yes.
bullshit bottle, and I'm like, oh,
It's
this is gonna be terrible,
amazing.
and I'm like, oh my god, this is
Right.
the best
They got
rum.
like the cheapest bottle and
Yeah,
everything, little paper label, and it's amazing.
yeah, and that's what you do when you prejudge.
Yes.
And so like I don't want to prejudge based on this. I want to like judge somebody based on this and this.
But that's as it should be.
Well, but
I
it's
mean,
not how
just
it
me
is.
being devil's advocate, that's what I was saying. You know, people will say if you don't recognize someone, you know, you just say I just see people and I don't see color, then you're not recognizing it. But I agree with you. It's automatic. Like it's automatic. And
Yeah.
yes, we are all. And I'm sorry, we're not different races. We're human race because that's the actual definition is human race.
But
And
we
we're
haven't.
just different nationalities and different colors, but we are all of the human race. So
The unfortunate part about that is, yes, we're all humans. We're all part of the human race, but we haven't been human towards each other
no,
for
and
a
that's
long
the problem.
time.
And it's getting worse right now.
It
We
is.
see everything that's happening on the news, and we try not to watch too much news because it is just terrible what's going on right now.
It is.
But you know, you get caught in it sometimes, and you just see just how human beings are acting towards each other, and it is terrible.
It is. So let me go back to my Super Kmart story. You know, to where, like I said, I want to get to know people before I have any sort of prejudice. And sometimes you just get that feeling with people that, you know, it's like, I don't know, there's just a feeling, it feels sketchy. That happens. But this is not the case. So I noticed that because I was one of maybe two white guys that worked on this particular shift, a lot of people were leery of me, you know, and
Well,
so
you
be
look
it.
mean sometimes.
Well,
Right?
maybe, you
It
know,
was probably
I
that.
can't smile all the time.
You got the
Plus,
tattoos, and you know.
well, I didn't
Well,
back
no,
then.
you
I
didn't have those like me,
nothing.
right?
No, I didn't
No,
have
but
nothing.
I know you were like me.
So, you know, there was this one guy, Squeak, and he had a kind of a squeaky voice, you know, young black guy. He was maybe about 3 or 4 years younger than me, and he grew up on the east side, so not in Detroit, not the best of areas, sometimes. And one night we were just talking, like we would just bullshit because, like, you know, we're all working together, and we were just bullshit. And he was like, you know, Don, like, should I do the
trying to
squeak?
squeaky
You
voice.
know, Don, before I met you, I didn't like white people. All right, I'm not gonna do that. But he said he didn't like white people,
Okay.
and I said, you know, well, why is that? He goes, well, you know, I didn't really know any. So we are segmented
Yes.
as a population where, unfortunately, and this is where it goes into what's happening today.
Yes.
If black people stay over there, I'm good as a white person.
Right.
If all the white people stay over there, as some black people, I'm good. Middle Eastern and Dearborn,
All of them.
you know, like all these different, you know, segments, and it's kind of it's sad because we don't get to know each other. And so with him, you know, we had a conversation, and it came down to he just didn't have the exposure outside of his own neighborhood.
But that's what it is.
Well,
That's
yeah.
still a learned behavior.
And he goes, man, you're just like me.
Yes.
You have the same struggles. I was like, man, I'm trying to make it. I have a shitty car. I'm making $13 an hour. Maybe. I'm
That was
living in a
good back then,
mobile.
wasn't it?
I'm living in a mobile home.
Right.
You know, so I'm trailer trash, and it was a trash mobile home. Like all these different things. Like I'm struggling to try to get by. I'm struggling to make, like we had so much in common. We actually, all of us got to be super cool to one day we were going on, you know, lunch or whatever like that. And one of them, somebody said, you know, oh man, you know, I can't stand white people. And I looked and they looked at me and they were like, oh, but not you.
Right. You not you. We're not talking
And
about
they
you.
were like, because you're cool. And I go, they were like, you know, we forgot you were white. And it
I'm
was,
sure a lot of people said that
well,
about you in the
maybe,
past.
but like what I, you know, kind of attribute that to is not from the surface level. From surface level,
Right.
I would get upset. But deeper than that is I'm just a regular person. I treat people, I give off the energy that I receive.
Mm-hmm.
So if you approach me in a good manner, I'm going to be the same way. Like I'm friendly until I shouldn't be. And so when people approach me a particular way, they get a different response. But if we could, all kind of come together and learn about each other and love each other, to a certain extent, respect each other. People just want to argue on social media just to argue,
I know they just
to
want
prove
to.
their
They
point.
want to, and they're never going to prove their point. But something we talked about and we actually saw on the show, and it goes with what you just talked about how he was saying because he just hadn't had that experience,
Yeah,
and he learned. And remember, we were watching the show. I can't say the show, I don't think, but it was
we can't
where
pay those
I know we
royalties.
can't pay those royalties, but it was a black guy, and he um, became friends with several former white supremacist members,
Oh yeah.
and he has several of them, and that they got out of those groups because they started interacting for
Hmm.
however whatever reason, and they've been friends now, like some of them like 20 years or something like that. And those former members of those groups were just like, yeah, I never knew. I never had that
Yeah.
experience or that exposure,
Yeah.
like you said, with the sweet
Yeah.
guy. Is for reverse, but it's the same thing. They didn't have the chance to actually talk to a black person or Middle Eastern or Asian or
Yeah.
whatever because, again, it goes back to learned behavior. They just went on what they were taught by their mama, daddy,
Yeah.
granddaddy, grandmama, the whole family, everything that they were taught. But
Yeah.
I truly think, because we were talking about what's going on today, how do we help what's going on today? I think that is a perfect, what the guy was doing, the black guy was doing, learn from each other,
Yeah.
communicate with each other.
You
Like,
know, I,
people these days aren't doing that.
even like before that time, my another buddy of mine, I worked at Burlington Coat Factory.
He
Unfortunately,
was working everywhere.
yeah, I got
He
around,
was
baby.
Jamaican. Look, he was Jamaican.
I got
He was
around.
Jamaican.
Dated many,
Right, that's what I'm
like,
saying. You was Jamaican.
I was a gigolo. So,
You had to pour out all them
so
dates.
right. But like me and another guy, same thing. He didn't have a lot of interaction with white people, and at that time, I didn't have a lot of interaction outside of white, suburbia. And we used to play a game like, Why. I think it was called Why.
Okay.
And he like at that time it was really popular for white people like rock, to wear ripped jeans, just like shredded up, ripped acid wash jeans or something. I don't know. And he was like, why do white people wear ripped up jeans? And I was like, I don't know. I don't
Like,
wear
shit, I don't know.
I don't
Like,
wear
I don't know.
ripped jeans. And then I remember vividly. It was so funny because I go, why do black people eat bean pies? And he was like,
I don't know.
I don't know what the fuck a bean pie is. Like, and so it was real funny.
Yes.
And because of that, we really sought to break down,
Exactly.
this Berlin Wall that has like been fought for so hard. I don't mean Berlin, but,
Yeah,
just
I know,
a
but,
metaphor,
I mean,
but like to stay standing. Like we want this wall as a society for some reason, and we can go deeper with that. That is it
Absolutely. We
government?
don't have
Is it
enough time.
capitalism? Like what truly is it? But why is this wall being fought for so tough to keep standing, to divide? And I think it's a power thing.
I think
it's
a
many
fear
things.
thing. I mean, we've talked about what's going on now in today's world, and I mean, I really want to get to what are some things to kind of change. I mean, I don't know if just two of us can change everything, but I mean, we can change our own areas, neighborhood, people that we come in contact with. But what is going on now that people are forgetting, to communicate, and that they are just so divisive on so many things. Like, it is so divided.
Yeah.
And
but why?
I mean, we all know why, but we don't talk about that type of subject on here.
If you are
we
broke,
know why.
if you are broke, and you have zero money in your pocket and you don't have food and you can't afford rent, does it matter if you're white, black,
No.
Asian,
No.
Middle Eastern?
No.
What am I leaving? What am I leaving out?
I don't know. There's so
You
many
see what I'm saying?
nationalities.
It doesn't
It's,
matter.
but I mean, we were talking about. You said it's power. I think it's fear as well.
Sure.
There is a divide because things have been so status quo. On how black people need to be here, white people need to be here, and one of those, a lot of those people are fearing that if they take over, then I'm out of whatever it is. I'm out of money or I'm out of a job or whatever. That's that whole thing, like with
Look,
affirmative action and all of that stuff. If they get it, then I don't get to get it. You know, everybody can get it.
look, automation.
Everybody can get it. So
you know me.
but there's a fear. It's a fear.
Well, I know, and it's like taking jobs and just different things like that. Trust me, automation and digital like technology is taking jobs
so
quicker
than what color you are.
It doesn't matter. So like that's a whole other subject that I know we're going to tackle.
We're going to have to, because that has to do with business.
Yeah.
And that has to be something.
But we've seen this spill over, from our personal lives in business. Like even you walking into a store to potentially solicit for them to carry our tequila, you have been kind of treated a different, peculiar kind of way.
And I think it's a sexism thing and probably a racism thing, just because I'm a woman, so I obviously don't know about liquor. So
right.
I get that, I get that vibe.
Right.
And I get the vibe of, I'm a black woman peddling tequila. So, I know, selling tequila.
You want some of this tequila?
I know, like
you're a drug dealer on the playground.
But that's the vibe that I would get. I would get these condescending remarks, said to me
100%.
like I don't know what I'm talking about, and then when I get to speaking about it, then they're looking at me like
school's in session. Class.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it's a change of attitude, and it's just like, really, like you treated me like I'm like a bum on the street or something walking in here.
Yeah.
And like I don't know what I'm talking about because I'm a woman or because I'm a black woman. Is one of those things or all.
Yes.
Because
it's all.
Because the spirit industry is a male dominated industry. Is. And it's a white male dominated
typically
industry.
Yes.
So here comes this black woman trying to sell some tequila. What look do you think I get?
Well, we've always
they looking at me like.
But why would we not do something different? Why would we not go against the grain? Like we're that one, fish, and I know salmon who try to swim upstream.
Oh, yeah.
But like in a school of fish swimming one way, I always wanted to go the different route. I always did not want to follow. Always wanted to lead, and I think we're in a position to potentially lead. And so I think it's, a good segue is, what can we do as a society, as just two regular people living in, a middle-class household, with a daughter, and what can we do? And I think the first thing is we talk to our families.
Absolutely. I mean, and also our daughter, our daughter, she sees us and she sees what we're doing. She sees our relationship, as an interracial relationship, and sees us growing businesses and everything like that. So I think it starts at home, just making sure, because again, it's learned behavior. So, we're teaching her, to love and respect people and treat them how they treat you, or, make sure you get the respect that you deserve. No matter who it's from.
And that,
and I'm sorry, it just starts at home. And then, yes, with family, if there are some people, because we do know there are family members who have, their thoughts and feelings about things. And I mean, I have been asked about your parents, like, how do they feel about me?
Well, what did my dad say the other day?
Oh, he said he's so proud to have me as a daughter-in-law, and that's what I'm saying. I said I didn't have that, that issue, but I do know that there are probably some interracial relationships that have that they've disowned someone
even
for marrying.
Friendships.
I mean, we know people in the past and even now, their families have disowned them for marrying outside of their race or having a relationship outside of their race. And friendships,
friendships too,
of doing that. So I'm very fortunate that I didn't have that type of struggle with that. But what do we do? Again, it starts at home. It starts with your families, and everyone communicating. and actually learning from each other,
Mm-hmm.
and actually talking about just some of these issues that are
Yeah.
going on now out in the world,
Yeah.
and with each other. Like you and I mean, I'm not saying we're unicorns, but we talk a lot about a
Oh,
lot of different things. We call them
sure.
our couch conversations, and now our couch conversations are coming here. So
Global.
because we communicate, and we're not perfect at communication as a couple or anything like that, but we have a great foundation in that,
We
and we're
do.
able to actually talk and have the hard conversations, whether it's about race or business
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that. So for me, my thought is, for today, for everyone, if we are able to help anyone, it's about learning and communicating with each other.
I think it's being open,
Yes.
so I mean that's the thing is like don't go in with a prejudice. Don't go in and prejudge anybody. Get to know them because there are assholes in every
Everybody.
race, in every creed, every walk of life. There's somebody who's an asshole. And it doesn't mean they're an asshole because they're a particular race or
No.
gender.
No.
They're just
They
an
correct though.
asshole.
They're probably
That's
very
what it
unhappy
is.
with themselves.
Well, that's a whole
That's
other
how I think of them.
so being open initially and then also having the open communication, talking about it and not having such a sensitivity to ask something, especially if it's a friend. But I think the biggest thing is not to be, silent.
Right.
That is the thing is I am not silent. I am an Irish
Very open.
man who I will openly voice my opinions. I'm very blunt. I'm very tactful. I'm very respectable.
Yes.
But you cross the line, there's a different side of me because I stand for what I believe in, and I believe that every person, not man, every
Person.
person
Yes.
is created equal. And some of the most amazing people that I've ever met in life are completely different than me because I've been able to learn from them. Been able to receive a message and walk away with some sort of growth. So I'd never want to be surrounded by everybody who's Irish or
Right.
everybody who's
Right.
white or bald or tatted up. Like I want to surround myself with people who are open and acceptable and like to have a strong dialogue and have those uncomfortable conversations. What I don't like is when people are silent. And there's a lot of people that I know that have been silent in society and what's going on right now.
Right.
And it makes me feel a certain kind of way
Yeah.
about
And
their
that would.
silence. And I don't know if, like, sometimes I can get past those. And, I will have discussions with them, but it's like we're an interracial marriage. There's a lot of civil unrest right now, and I
Yes.
haven't had many of my friends reach out to me, and that's unsettling to me. That's very unsettling to me.
But I mean, that's another topic we can talk about. This
Sure,
whole thing that if it doesn't directly affect you, then it's not happening, or you don't care because it doesn't directly affect you.
if it doesn't impact me in some sort of way, I don't care. I care, like I
Like,
big time care to the fact because I'm raising a daughter,
yes, you are.
and I want her to be an incredible, amazing human being when she is 22, when she is 23,
Absolutely.
and like that's what I'm looking forward to
Yeah.
is her and she's fantastic. Like trust me, she is on the right path. But, with that being said, to kind of wrap it up is
Mhm.
I don't like the silence. I think we need to talk about it more. We don't need to talk about it in a structured frame. We don't need to talk about this on social media where
No.
people act tough behind a keyboard or
Right.
the
Keyboard thugs.
keep like Twitter thumbs, like
Right.
they're Twitter thugs. So these are the things that I think that we need to do more to break down stereotypes, to
Absolutely.
break down walls and barriers. But how great of a country would this be
It would
if we
be
all
amazing.
were able to move forward together?
It would be amazing. And do you know how much further we could get as a country? How great this country would be? and how much growth so many people would have.
Yeah.
You know, if people really just stop, were open, honest, and open for communication
I
and
agree.
learning.
So that's my takeaway.
Right.
This is our first ever
I know.
Curious Inception, Social Inception. And, you know, we're going to do these every 2 weeks. And we will announce on the Curious Inception Facebook page what our next topic will be. But my parting thought is treat people the way that you really want to be treated. Be open. And if you see something wrong, don't settle for it.
Exactly. And my thing is always be open to learning and be open to communicating, because you never know what you can learn and what you can grow from.
Yeah, how it can benefit you in
Absolutely.
many ways.
So many different ways.
Okay, well,
all right.
Let's finish up drinking and
I know. Let's finish these drinks.